in our library for Birmingham, but you can't load anywhere near that many onto the processor at any given time. We do not build the processor. What we have looked at doing from an R&D perspective, however, is basically, if necessary, and I don't know yet how necessary this would be, but being able to put the capability on a stick and being able to, put the stick in a port on the drone. Not every drone has that capability, but some do.
Okay, Madeline's got a question, then over to Darwin.
I have a follow-up question. So you showed your pricing at 600,000 per hub.
Correct.
What is a hub? And also, what does that 600,000 entail? It sounds like you're helping buy hardware and there's customization involved. Can you speak to your pricing model and what each contract variance looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. The 600,000, so first and foremost, a hub is 16 square acres, and that's defined by the range of most drones that are commercially available on the market today. In other words, the ability to get out, fly a mission, return to base, all within the battery life of the drone, including time on station. The $600,000 covers 3 shifts, 24/7 operations. So as you would guess, most police departments or other public safety operations are 24/7 and they run 3 shifts. So 200,000 would be sort of per shift. If you do all 3, it's 600,000. For Birmingham, we just did 3 hubs for 1.5 million, and we gave them a discount, so it's $500,000 for 24/7 operations. That is the way the city of Birmingham, for example, or Huntsville, or any of our other clients treat it, is usually just a sort of flat fee, right? They don't differentiate between how much we're paying for, or how much they're paying for, services for implementation, how much they're paying for ongoing maintenance costs, and how much they pay for the software. We do that on the back end. The calculation we typically use is the implementation cost, and does not include any of the hardware, but the implementation cost in the first 4 months of operations is about 70% of the contract, and about 30% is allocated to software. It's about 50-50 for the second 4 months, and in the final 4 months, it's 70-30 in the other direction. 70% software subscription, and then 30% maintenance fees to keep it running. Any of the incremental elements, hardware, for example, the drones themselves, radars if it's recovered or required, ADS-B transmitters, which may be required, and anything else that's ancillary to that, that gets paid for separately by the client. So the 1.5 million for Birmingham does not include the hardware cost. The hardware cost is above and beyond. And with respect to that, we will charge about a 15% upcharge for anything that we sell that way. We don't book the full amount. We just book the 15%, so that drops to our bottom line.
Darwin.
Sorry, I kind of have 3 questions. The first one is, are you limited to U.S. manufactured drones only? Because that's about 2% of the global manufactured drones or less. Is that a limitation? If not, what limits you from integrating with foreign made? Let's leave DJI aside, just other countries' drones. Secondly, is each one of these model or manufacturer an integration effort on your part for the software to work with said mission, said model, said situation? And then thirdly, who is your sales guy calling to scale?
I think I heard 4 questions there. Let me see if I got them all.
Try to limit it to 3, sorry.
That's all good. So number 1, we can work with any drone manufactured anywhere. And in fact, we work with experimentally some drones that have come out of the Ukraine theater. And we also work with a company called Parrot, which is a major drone manufacturer out of France. They also make one of the best military-grade drones that are available in the world. One of the only non-Ukrainian native drone companies to not get thrown out of Ukraine from an effectiveness point of view. So that's not an issue. Almost all of the drones, because the US is one of the large markets, almost all of the drones try to focus on, if they're not Blue List compatible, they at least have a similar API structure. So it's not as much integration effort as you might think. I will challenge you on your assertion around the percentage of the drone market that is US based from a hardware manufacturer point of view. And again, as you know, we don't have a direct dog in that fight. However, there's a massive push, and the current administration is facilitating it both on the civil side as well as the military side to improve organic development, supply chain, and the rest. I don't know that I agree with you that it's 2%, but whatever it is, it should be increasing over time. Sort of irrelevant to the broader question, but I do think you're going to see from the perspective of a key push to develop more organic drone capabilities in the United States. Think of it the way the administration's put it out, and we've been part of the discussions around this through our industry lobby group and advocacy group. They think of it like shipbuilding, but it's a lot easier to remediate than shipbuilding is. You know, the United States has a crisis in military shipbuilding, as most of you are probably aware. We have a crisis in drone manufacturing as well. So again, a little bit easier to resolve on that front. With respect to how much effort does it take, it gets easier as you go, as you add new platforms and as you add new geographies and as you add new mission cases. But it is not a trivial exercise necessarily to get it created. We don't have to do a lot of really invasive stuff. Having said that, you know, it's probably a number of weeks before we can go from zero to being operational on a new drone platform. And that time compresses as we move on. And then I am so sorry. I think I forgot the final part of the question.
Who is the dude that they talk to?
Yeah.
Who's the dude they talk to? So, it's such an immature market that it is different in every case. So, for example, in CVS Health, we're literally talking to the EVP of specialty logistics. In the case of a police department, if it's the sweet spot for us is probably a city around the size of a Birmingham or South Fulton in Georgia, or Huntsville, which is to say bigger than 50 cops and not as big as 1,000 cops. And somewhere in there is a probably sweet spot in terms of department size and budgets and need. And typically there will be a designated officer. It will either be a collateral duty if it's a smaller department, or it'd be if it's a larger department, it'll be a full-time job, almost like a CIO. So the officer's job and it'll be a sworn officer almost always. Sometimes it's civilians, but by and large, it's a sworn officer. Sworn officer, will be someone with a comp sci degree and maybe a master's degree in the field, and they'll be responsible for all technology acquisition and integration into their stack. So that's who we're usually calling on to start. We also really need to talk to the chief. So that position that I just described is probably a deputy chief position. In Birmingham, as a specific example, it was exactly a deputy chief. The deputy chief has to kind of get approval from the chief, and the chief usually has to get approval from the mayor and the city council, so they're stakeholders as well.
All right, we got time for one question that Maggie will pick from the group online, and don't worry, everybody's coming back tomorrow morning to ask more questions. So
I'm going to distill this into like a 2-word answer. So on a scale of 1 to 100, how much of a pain in the ass is it dealing with FAA regulations now? And what do you think it will be in several years?
It was a 60 2 years ago. It is a 30 today, and it'll be a 10 or less within 12 months. Big change there.
awesome. All right. Well, thanks very much, Don. Let's give Don a nice round of applause.